Welcome back to Coast Sports. It is time for our Week 10 NFL Power Rankings. We are more than halfway through the season. Things are starting to get good. We have 11 tiers this week. My turn to do the tiers, and let's get into it. Tier 11, Caleb, I still think Caleb is the number one pick. I'm not sure. Maybe he's not. He hasn't been
No,
playing great.
he's the number one pick.
We've got number 32, the Panthers. They are now in last place for the first time for me all season. The Cardinals are now up to
No,
31.
no,
Kyler with the return. We've got the Giants at number 30, the Patriots
terrible.
at 29, and the Bears at 28. Look, you can argue about where these teams should be, but the bottom line is this. One of these teams is going to end up getting Caleb. It's not going to be the Panthers, and only one of these quarterbacks controls his destiny, right? Because Kyler, all he has to do is win, and you get to keep your job. The other three, not so much. Daniel Jones, he's out for the season. His job security depends on Tommy DeVito. For Justin Fields, his job security depends on the Panthers winning. And for Mac Jones, I honestly think that he doesn't have any more jobs. I think whatever happens, Mac Jones is getting replaced, even if it's not by Caleb. I think the Patriots would take Drake May, JJ McCarthy. I think they would take anyone over Mac Jones.
The Giants are the worst team in the NFL right now. It's not close. They're 32.
Really? Really?
And then I think everything else you got right here. But the fact that you have the Cardinals below the Giants is
Well, the
crazy.
Giants beat the Cardinals in week
Crazy.
3. The Giants beat the
Crazy.
Cardinals.
These are different teams now.
I don't think they are. I think it's the same teams. They
How?
they both
They
switched
both have different
quarterbacks,
starting
but
quarterbacks.
yeah, well, I don't know, man. I
How
have
is
to
that
give
different teams?
I'm gonna give the edge to the
The
team,
Cardinals just won and the Giants just lost by 25.
and the Giants beat them though. They have the head-to-head win. So
It's power rankings week by week. That's crazy. That is crazy.
all right, next tier 10. Make a decision at quarterback/coach. This is 27 through 22. So this is interesting. So there's 11 tiers this week, but more than half of the league is in the bottom 3 tiers. This is a very full tier. The Packers, 27. The Titans at 26. The Falcons at 25. Washington Commanders, 24. Bucks, 23. And the Rams dropping into the bottom 20 now at number 22. None of these teams are out of the playoffs. They're all still technically alive, but they might as well be, because even if one of these teams somehow gets hot and sneaks in, the problem is all 6 of these teams either aren't sure about the coach or aren't sure about the quarterback, or both, right? The Packers, I think, aren't sure about Jordan Love. The Titans aren't sure about Will Levis / Tannehill / whatever. They think they have something. The Falcons, I think they're concerned about coach and quarterback. Same with the Bucks. I don't know what they think about Baker right now. Washington thinks they have the quarterback, not sure about the coach, and the Rams, who knows with Matt Stafford's health.
I mean, yeah, these 6 teams are. This is a good spot for them. I can't argue too much. I mean, I can nitpick you a little bit about the order here. Um, but yeah, these 6 teams are probably the next 6 to go here.
Yeah, I mean, could one of these teams make the playoffs? Technically, yes. I don't think so. Next up, tier 9. It's too crowded in the AFC. These are all teams that if they were in the NFC, they'd be considered playoff contenders. In the AFC, I don't think they're going to get in this year. And there's a lot. I mean, I only have 2 AFC teams in the bottom 11. So 14 AFC teams, I think, are better than 9 NFC. We got the Jets just missing the top 20, the New York Jets. We've got the Colts at number 20, still with Gardner Minshew. They're 5-5. The Raiders at 5-5 with Aiden O'Connell. We got the Chargers at number 18. They drop into this tier. I slowly was buying more into the Chargers, but then they lost to the Lions. They played well, but they're 4-5. I just don't see it happening. Buffalo dropping all the way down to 17. They are now 5-5.
Yeah.
I don't think they're making the playoffs. And finally, at number 16, Denver, they beat the Bills. Congratulations. However, they're still not making the playoffs, but I do think that they're gonna win a few more games this year and have a respectable record of about. I think these are all 8-9, maybe 9-8 teams.
Yeah, I think the Chargers, I think the Bills and the Raiders are better than the Broncos. I know
Well,
you
I
could
don't think the
say
Bills are. The Broncos outplayed them the entire game.
the Bills should have won that game if it wasn't for,
The Broncos outplayed them for pretty much the whole game.
I think the Bills have a better roster. I think they're a better team, so I put them higher in the power rankings. The
I don't know,
Raiders are
man.
a lot of fight right now. After their coach got fired and just the guys are pumped up. I mean, they're playing with a lot of intensity right now. Super fun, a fun team to watch. And then you have the Chargers. I mean, Staley. He's got to go in my opinion.
Oh yeah,
He's uninspiring. He's a quote unquote defensive minded coach, and you just let um how many points did they just let up? Like 40 something, like, to the Lions.
41. And this is a team that's meant to be really good at defense. They have the highest paid defense in the league.
Highest paid defense in the league, defensive minded coach, starting to lose guys in the locker room. I think he's got to go. I think Justin Herbert's really putting the team on his back right now.
Yeah.
I think if Justin Herbert was, let's say, part of the Jets, I think the Jets probably have 6 or 7 wins instead of 4, and the Chargers probably have like 2
Oh
or
yeah.
3 instead of 4. So listen, I still think all 6 of these teams have a chance. If I'm the Jets, Zach Wilson's not playing great, but you look at Zach Wilson, he's still making a lot of good throws.
Yeah.
He's making throws that only a handful of guys in the league can make. He's running to the left, off balance. I mean, that last play of the game, the Hail Mary, he threw that 45 yards after running around for 10 seconds, like in the sideline, and just trucked it 45 yards, kind of right where you want a Hail Mary to be. But the problem is he's missing the 5-yard checkdowns. I mean, I've never
Yeah.
seen a guy so incapable of just completing the easy ball like Zach Wilson. And for that matter, you can throw Josh Allen in that category too. Those two quarterbacks actually remind me a lot of each other. Josh Allen seems to be a little bit more polished of a Zach Wilson. A take which is really interesting is this the Josh Allen that is like everyone thinks this is kind of an anomaly season for Josh Allen, but is this what he is? I mean, look at it. In college, high school, beginning of the NFL, he was really he played like this. Then they got that new offensive coordinator. I'm blanking on the name, and then
Brian
he
Dable.
started. Yeah, Dable, super good coach. Started to then play a lot better. Now Dable's gone, and he's kind of back to this. So maybe the outlier were the couple of seasons Josh Allen was really good, and now this is just the Josh Allen that we should expect.
I think Allen is trying to do too much. And I will say this, right? Allen and Herbert are both trying to carry their teams because neither of their teams are stepping up right now, and neither of their coaching staffs are stepping it up. And we're seeing it in different ways. We're seeing both of them make critical mistakes. Josh Allen's mistakes is turning the ball over. Herbert's mistakes is just missing throws. The problem though with Herbert is he doesn't have the weapons that Allen has. I mean, Keenan Allen and Stephon Diggs are pretty similar, but Josh Allen has a really good rookie tight end. He has, I mean, Dalton Kincaid has been great. He has Gabe Davis, who's one of the best number 2s in the league. The Chargers, who do they have? I mean, they're Mike Williams out for the season. Josh Palmer is their number 2. Like Quentin Johnston hasn't done anything. So I feel like Josh Allen, it is more on him. The 3 teams in the bottom right, Colts, Raiders, Jets, none of them have great quarterbacks. I think Denver's the only team in this tier that has a nice balance between team, coach, and quarterback. That's why I have them at the highest in this tier. Russ is working with Peyton and with the team to make this work. Whereas the other teams, it's an imbalance of quarterback is here, team is here, or it's team is here, quarterback is here.
Yeah, and the Broncos have won 3 straight, so I
Yeah.
can see that argument.
Next up, tier 8. This is a 1-team tier, deceiving record. The Steelers, I think this is a deception. They're 6-3. I don't think this team is very good. And I'm noticing this. A lot of the analysts and the ESPN and the Fox Sports guys, they agree with me. Nobody's putting the Steelers in their top 10s. I understand they're 6-3. I don't think they're going to make the playoffs. Their schedule gets tougher. Kenny Pickett, I'm not sure about.
Yeah. I mean, their last 3 wins, barely beat the Packers by 4, beat the Titans by 4 and beat the Rams by a touchdown.
Yeah,
So
they're playing decent against
yeah, I
bad
mean
teams.
they're not a bad team, and they'll probably make the playoffs. Well, I don't know. They're in the AFC, but they'll have a chance to make the playoffs down the stretch. This reminds me a lot of the Steelers a couple years ago. Started out 10-0 or whatever. Mike Tomlin kind of seems to do this. Really, really good coach. And he just puts his team in a position to win close ball games. And he likes to do that over and over again. But when you start to go down the stretch, I mean, you got the Browns, you got the Bengals. I see 2 losses there, and now all of a sudden you're 6-5.
Yeah, exactly. I will say the Steelers' gift could be the Deshaun Watson injury. We'll get to that in a sec. Tier 7, thankful for being in the NFC. It's Thanksgiving season, and these two teams are saying thank you to the football world for us being in the NFC. The Vikings and the Saints are both going to make the playoffs, and neither of them feel very good, but they're both winning games. They played each other this week. The Vikings won, so I guess I should probably flip them. I accidentally, whatever, it doesn't really matter. They're both very similar. I don't think these teams are winning playoff games, but the fact that Josh Dobbs is going to be in the playoffs at all, like he's probably the most thankful guy this Thanksgiving.
Yeah, I would put the Saints below the Chargers, the Raiders. I haven't been high on the Saints this whole time.
And
Again,
I don't understand it because the Saints, when they win convincingly. And when
and when
they
they
lose
lose.
close. They lose close.
What was the
They
Vikings
lost
game?
23-19. They lost by 4.
Yeah, to a Vikings team I don't think is that good. Regardless, they didn't lose by 4. They lost
Yeah.
by they lost by 8.
Did they lose by 8?
Whatever. Either way, I've never been high on the Saints, and again, it kind of goes back to our fundamental problem where you think that a playoff team should be in the top,
I
16.
do. I do.
So I just don't think the Saints are that good. I think if the Saints played the Steelers, they would not be favored. So I think the
I
Steelers
think they would beat the Steelers.
or
I
I'm
don't.
not gonna get hung up on the Saints here, but I'm gonna move on to the Vikings. Josh Dobbs, fun guy to root for.
Yeah.
I mean, super cool story. I liked him on the Cardinals, and that's saying something because they don't like the Cardinals. And Vikings have always been kind of a second team for me. I've always kind of liked
Really.
the Vikings.
Really.
I one of my friends back in Switzerland, he was a Vikings guy, and I like Kirk Cousins. We beat them in the playoffs that one year. Ever since then, like the shanked field goal, kind of felt bad for them a little bit. They had the cool catch against the Saints. I mean, I like the Vikings, so it's good to see them succeed, and I like Josh Dobbs a lot too. So this is kind of a cool story. I hope they keep winning.
Yeah. Me too. I think they will. All right. Now we have 2 more tiers that are one team tiers. I hate to do this, but it makes the most sense for these teams to be separate. Tier 6. Can they be the 2000 Ravens? What do I mean by this? The Ravens won the Super Bowl with Trent Dilfer at quarterback. Can the Browns be the Ravens from
Wow.
2000? They do not have Deshaun Watson. He's out for the season. They still have a championship caliber defense, but can PJ Walker get the job done? PJ Walker, a guy with a career winning record as a quarterback. However, his stats tell you that he should probably be the worst quarterback in the NFL because he literally has a completion percentage at 49%, 1 touchdown, 5 picks. So he's not good. And
Yeah.
yet they beat the 49ers with him. So clearly they have the championship caliber defense. The question is, can they be the 2000 Ravens? They did drop a tier despite winning because when your starting quarterback is out for the year and the replacement is as bad as it is, then I start to lose faith.
You're spot on with this one, Levi. I really like where you have this here. Right out of the top 12 is the Browns. I mean, right in the top 12, but not in the top 10. They're a good team, but with
Yeah.
with no Deshaun Watson in a quarterback friendly league, my apologies. In a quarterback friendly league, it's really tough to put them any higher than this. So I would
Yeah.
agree with you here.
Right now, I think it's gonna come down to Browns and Steelers for the last wild card in the
Yeah.
AFC, and I'm giving the Browns the slightest edge. But you know what? If PJ Walker goes out there and loses bad the next couple of games, then that's gonna flip to the Steelers.
Yeah. Next week, Browns Steelers.
That's gonna
Huge
be a huge
playoff
game.
implications for
The
both teams.
winner of that game could be first place in the division.
And likely goes to the playoffs
Yeah.
at
Yeah.
7-3.
Yeah. I mean, the winner of that game was pretty much in the playoffs. Next tier, another one team. Can they be the 2011 Ravens? Now, the 2011 Ravens also went to a Super Bowl. Who was their quarterback? Not as bad as Dilfer. It was Joe Flacco. A
Flacco.
very average quarterback, right? Who am I talking about, Drew?
Oh, Levi, can they be 2011 Ravens?
A team with a very much a mid quarterback.
Big quarterback. They have some good weapons though. Kind of carried by everything else. Got a good coach. Historically good franchise. Give me the Seattle Seahawks.
It is the Seahawks, just outside of the top 10.
Come on now.
I don't think they can. By the way, I don't think the Browns can either. But it would be a cool story if Geno does make the Super Bowl. But yeah, I think this is about right for my team. I think they're right outside the top 10.
It's a great spot. Don't disagree with it at all. The Seahawks have a chance to definitely make a run in the playoffs, but they're hindered by Geno Smith.
Yeah.
And he played a lot better last week, but I still don't trust him. And the defense has looked vulnerable against good offenses. So
yeah, I mean they're gonna beat the Rams. They'll be 7-3, and then we'll see. This season really starts on Thanksgiving. Next tier, great win good. What do I mean? When these teams are good, they're great. They win easily, and then when they lose, you're like, whoa, what did I just watch? The Jaguars dropping all the way down to 10th. The Ravens dropping to 9th, and the Cowboys, they remain in 8th place after last week. So what do I mean? Well, the Jaguars and Ravens both lost. The Ravens lost to a limping quarterback who literally had a torn ACL. The Jaguars got destroyed at home by the 49ers. And the Cowboys, well, we've seen the Cowboys.
And the Ravens is a tough one for me because when they're good, they are really good.
I agree.
When Lamar Jackson is good, I mean, he's unstoppable. But they just came off of a 2-point loss to the Browns. Play the Bengals up next, Chargers. Kind of a little bit of a rough stretch here. Listen, all three of these teams, we're heading into Thanksgiving, and they remind me of the turkey. It's very bold. They're fun. A really kind of a centerpiece, but it just ends up being a little bit too dry. It's not my favorite thing on my plate, even though I think it should be. You get the turkey and you think it should be like, well, this is it, but then you eat it, it's like, well, there's just something a little off. But if they can figure out a way to, when you get that good turkey, it's really good. It's rare, but if they can figure out that formula, these three teams could win the Super Bowl. I'm going to say it.
Yeah, I think the only team here that could win the Super Bowl actually is Baltimore. I think the Jags and Cowboys could get there, but I don't think they could win it. I think if the Ravens get hot, they can win it. Next tier, looking to Pounce. This name works for two of these teams. Admittedly, it doesn't work for one of them. The Texans moving all the way into my top 7.
It's terrible.
They are 5-4, and I think they are a team that's going to not only make the playoffs, but win a playoff game. Then the other two teams, these guys are looking to pounce. The Bengals and the Lions. I had to go with the cat pun. I have the Bengals. They did lose, but I'm keeping them at 6. And the Lions at number 5. The Detroit Lions are now a top 5 team in the NFL.
I would put the Bengals at top 5. I'd drop the Texans probably 13 or 14. The Texans are a good team. They're hot right now. CJ Stroud has got all the rage going for him, but I can't put a team in my top 7 when you lose to, say it with me, Levi, the Falcons, the Panthers, and the Colts. I mean,
and yet, CJ Stroud is now the number one leader on the MVP race.
He's not going to win MVP. They beat the Bucks by 2.
I'll say this.
Is not that good.
This. I think CJ
Levi,
Stroud.
I think you're overinflating a good quarterback for what a good team is. A good quarterback does not make a good team. And
No, I
CJ
think I'm
Stroud is
doing the
a
opposite.
rookie.
I think I'm doing the
Rookie.
opposite. I think the team is better than the quarterback. I actually,
No, you don't. No, you
I do.
don't.
I
A, t-
so I
a
look at
team
the
that just let up
Texans
37 to the Buccaneers
and they won because of how good their offense is.
because of how good their quarterback is. Levi.
Man, someone's a popular guy tonight.
Jeez. Someone's not letting me alone here. But sorry. Because of how good their quarterback is why they beat the Buccaneers, not because of how good their team is. I don't know how you can debate this, Levi.
I'll just say this. I admit I think that CJ Stroud overreaction is insane. And I think it speaks to the fact that the media is always looking for that next big thing. I don't think CJ Stroud's a top 10 or even a top 20 quarterback in the NFL right
Top
now.
20, yes, he is. Yes, he is.
Maybe top 20. I wouldn't put him in the top 15 yet.
Who do you
He's
rather
at
have for this year? No, I won't talk about the future. For the
he's
rest of this year,
yeah, for the rest of
Geno
this
Smith,
year.
Geno Smith,
Oh, I
or
would take CJ over Geno for sure.
okay, and Geno Smith is definitely a top 20 quarterback. Let's
Yeah,
not
yeah.
lose
I'm saying probably not top 15 though.
CJ Stroud or Brock Purdy.
I'd take Brock.
No, you wouldn't.
Yes,
No,
I
you,
would.
no, you
Yes,
would
I
not.
would. Yes, I would.
Brock
But
Purdy?
Brock
Brock Purdy has been.
CJ Stroud has had 2 good games in his career. Brock Purdy's had like 8.
I haven't seen a game where I've been impressed by Brock Purdy. Not one.
The Dallas game?
No, that's the
Really?
offense.
Oh, wow. That's I think you're judging him a little too harshly. A lot too harshly.
I think he's an average quarterback. I CJ Stroud's a good quarterback, but I think you're the one that put them top 7, and now
I
you're arguing
know.
against him.
Well, because I'm saying the team is hot right now. They're winning games. They're beating good teams.
That's, that's crazy. That is such a
But
bad spot.
I just disagree with putting CJ. People are saying CJ is the second best quarterback in the league. That is ridiculous. It's an overreaction. But
Maybe
let's
he
move
is
on.
right now.
Right now is no 2 games doesn't mean anything. Tier 2, right on the cusp. These 2 teams, they are right on the cusp of the Super Bowl. The Dolphins moving up and a bye week, they move up, and the Eagles at number 3. So I think these 2 teams look. I was for the first 6 weeks of the season, I tried my best to argue against Drew's Dolphins, but eventually you have to understand this is a good football team. I mean, they hung in there with the Chiefs. They lost by 7 to a really good Chiefs team. So I think these are the teams that, when it's all said and done, are going to be in the championship games. I think the Dolphins and Eagles are going to be on that championship Sunday. I think that they are very complete teams. They have good quarterbacks, good defense, good offense, great weapons, great running game, good coaches, good young coaching staffs. I think there's nothing really bad to say about these teams other than the fact that every so often they get that little trip up and it makes you kind of question, is it a mirage, right? The Eagles are 8-1, and yet half their games they almost lost. The Dolphins are 6-3. They've only beat teams with a losing record. So they both have that little caveat to them. But I really do think that the Dolphins and Eagles are actually for real.
I think the Eagles are good here. This is the first time I disagree with you on the Dolphins because of how high you put them.
Wow.
They haven't beat a winning team. They haven't beat a team with a winning record in over a year.
That's true.
How I don't know how you can put them like in the top 4. And I mean
Because I see that offense is
that's
explosive.
That's AFC championship level.
I
And
do.
you haven't beat winning record. Winning record. Look at
Yeah.
the teams who have a winning record. They're not that good this year. I mean,
So in the
you're talking about,
playoffs,
the Steelers.
who do you think would beat the Dolphins in the playoffs?
I think the Bengals would. I think the Lions would. I think the Ravens
Just
would.
in the AFC. But you think Bengals and Ravens would?
I think the Bengals and the Ravens would.
So
Yeah.
I actually, in my predictions, I have the Dolphins beating the Bengals to move into the AFC Championship game. I think that I was torn over that. I thought about giving that game to the Bengals, but I think the Dolphins are better. I really do.
You think they lose? Do you think they beat the Bills?
I think they'll beat the Bills. Yeah, second they have a rematch against Buffalo. I think they'll beat them, and I think that will be the game that eliminates Buffalo from playoff
It
contention.
was so lopsided the first time they played Buffalo. 28.
It was in Buffalo. You know, things happen. I think in Miami they're gonna win that game.
It's just you can't keep losing. I mean, I understand you've played good winning record teams, but
And anyways, the Bills might not even have a winning record by that point.
You just can't. They play the Raiders, the Jets, the Commanders, the Titans, the Jets. That's
Hey, the Jets are
that's a
frisky.
no. That's a favorable 5 game stretch.
So you're saying they're 6-3 right now. They could be 11-3.
I think they'll go 10-4 in the next 5 games. Yeah.
So if they're 10-4, and then you say, well, they still haven't beat a team with a winning record, so we can't put them this high.
I think you're around where they should be. I just don't
Yeah.
think that. I think the Lions and the Bengals are better right
Okay.
now.
That's fair. That's fair. Finally, Super Bowl. I'm back on my team. 49ers moving back into the number one spot at 6-3, and they crushed the Jags. I think they are back. Brock Purdy is healthy. Trent Williams is healthy, and they're the best team in the NFL.
Yeah, I mean it's hard. It's hard not to overreact to. It's hard with the 49ers. The Chiefs, I've kind of had them at 2-3-1 the whole season. Mahomes is going to do his thing. They're going to win close ball games. But I'm going to talk with the 49ers here for like just a little bit. It's hard to overreact or not overreact to this team because they just lost, and then I was finally made that move last week. I was like, all right, I'm going to drop them a few spots. And then they won a very convincing game against a good team. I feel like one's the right spot. I really do. It seems like, you went to that restaurant for 10 years that you loved as a kid, and then you go back 5 years later and you realize it just wasn't as good as you thought it was. But then you go back again and it was really good. And then you have conflicting. It's like, well, maybe I just got a bad, I just went once and it was bad. I'm going to look at all the track record before that and realize maybe it was a good restaurant. I think the 49ers is kind of like that. I think they just had a rough couple of games. I really do. I think this is still the best team in the league. You got to allow the best teams in the league to have hiccups, and they were without their best players. So now you have your best players. You have Trent Williams back. You got Deebo Samuel's back, and this team is not built on one guy. This team is built on a team, and when you have those types of squads, it's very dependent on having everyone, having all the puzzle pieces together to build that puzzle. The Chiefs don't need that. The Chiefs can have Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes and Travis Kelce, and they can win a lot of ball games despite everybody else on the team. The 49ers can't win like that. They need everyone to be healthy, but when everyone's healthy, they're the best team in the league. My only problem is I don't know if they're going to get to February with 0 injuries. And then I think is when the Chiefs or the Eagles could take them over for the number 1 spot.
Yeah, I think I agree. The 49ers, it depends on their health, but I think when they're healthy, they're the best.
Yeah.
And honestly, the Seahawks could beat them, and I think I would still put them at number 1, depending on how that game goes.
Yeah, it depends on how they beat them, but I would agree.
But if the Seahawks beat them, then the Seattle has got to go back into the top 10.
Yeah, I think Seattle's borderline top 10 right now.
Yeah,
I mean,
they are.
Texans aren't top 10, so I think Seattle's 11.
I don't know. I think you always say the power rankings are about what's happening. What, Drew?
Right?
When?
Right now.
Right now. Would you
And
rather
right now, I
be
think the Texans. Right now, I think the Texans would lose to the Seahawks.
I think the Texans would beat the Seahawks.
All right.
So I think they're more dynamic at quarterback and have a better overall team.
I thought that the quarterback wasn't the reason you put the Texans that high.
But they still do have a more dynamic quarterback.
All right. This is the NW Sportscast, everyone.
That's actually the Coast to Coast
Sports.
That
Coast to Coast Sports. I was queuing us in on the NW Sportscast, our other channel for all Northwest sports. Go check it out. Coast to Coast Sports. Let's get to 100 subscribers by New Year.
Yeah, let's go for it. We're at 18 right now. Let's keep them coming, guys. Tell everyone you know about the channel.
See you.